this operation here, you know that when there's a disaster and people need a shelter, you think we just go out and get a shelter, but that's not the case. We have a shelter that has been arranged months and months, maybe years in advance. We contact different districts, different cities, and ask if they'd be interested in partnering with the Red Cross. And this is the program specialist that does this. If they agree that they want to partner with us, then we set up a meeting, we get an agreement signed, and then we will have a survey team go out and measure all of the appropriate areas in the facility. And once we have all that, we then enter that into a database. And the database is then tiered, the facility is tiered based on its appropriateness, and then it goes eventually to the national database. And this national database is accessible by FEMA and other agencies in case there is a major disaster. But the other thing that we have to do is that once we have done this, we have to go back every 3 years and then resurvey, because so many times situations change. So in order for this to work, it's got to be very clear.
Okay, we have all of our disaster training classes here, and we also have classes for feeding, and we also have classes for sheltering. And once you've taken the very first class, which is disaster services, you only need shelter fundamentals and basic food. And they are very similar in classes, basic food and shelter fundamentals for feeding and sheltering. What else we have is client services. This is how we take care of our clients. There are separate classes for that. Disaster mental health, and we have disaster health services. These are professional areas that we have someone helping out, and this is the client caseworker. And there are many online classes going on for this grouping of disaster workers. So disaster training is important because we want the volunteers to be able to perform their jobs and take care of our clients.
Alright, so I'm here with the volunteer services team, and so what we're doing is promoting 2 volunteer opportunities for our volunteer services to help recruit new volunteers. So as we're speaking to a lot of our new volunteers here today, we're looking for some folks to help out with our prospective volunteer boot camps. Those are those orientations you guys first attended to get on board with the Red Cross. And so we're looking for either instructors that may be interested in getting trained on how to deliver that program, as well as admin assistants to help out in getting the new volunteers process. So if you enjoy working with new volunteers, or even working with our youth volunteers as well, those are just great opportunities to kind of get on board. So those are the 2 things we're promoting today for volunteer services.
Hi, this is just highlighting the Territory 2 logistics team, which includes the emergency response vehicles, or the ERVs. They assist with mobile feeding in a disaster. Locally, we also use them for community events like parades. And also, we support any drills that might happen in the territory. These depict the shelter drill that we had last month. So we have drivers that tow and also unload all the supplies needed for the shelter. In addition to that, we provide a canteen service. We get called out by fire and police departments to support them during an extended operation and just feed them snacks and refreshments, and also participate if they have any fire drills out in their areas.
The MassCare booth. If you look over here, we've got a poster that tells some of the things that MassCare does, but we're really interested in what are the immediate needs of the people who have had a disaster. So that would include things like feeding, sheltering, what we call family reunification, putting families together. So if you had a brother who was at high school and couldn't get in touch with the family or couldn't get home, we have ways to help put families back together. And the last area that MassCare is involved in is bulk distribution. So if we have a situation, say a wildfire up in the mountains, and now the fire is over and people are coming back into the community to clean up and look at what their situation is, we can help with brooms and shovels and garbage bags and coolers and water. So Red Cross really wants to meet immediate needs and help people get back into their homes if possible. Some of our responders respond here locally. In fact, most of us respond locally, but then there are quite a few who also respond nationally. At this time, there are some wildfires and flooding that are going on north of here. Quite a few people from our region are up there supporting the operation and manning the shelters and helping with client casework. And so those of us who are still here are covering the bases here at home. In fact, I'm on call for 2 territories to help with that responses. So that's how I can help when we have people who are deployed.
So we are from the disaster action team. We are on-call volunteers that go on call and go for anyone that affected by a disaster, and we help them with some emergency assistance like lodging and financial assistance. We sometimes give them like a blanket. We have some snack and water in the vehicle that we go to. And sometimes when there's a wildfire, we also do cleaning for the firefighter and also police officer. Yes, come join us, and if you have any questions, just come to any one of our Red Crosser and we can help you out with that.
External relations covers 4 areas. One is, as the title implies, external relations. We represent Red Cross to all government entities when a disaster has been declared by a local city, county, state, whatever. And Red Cross then has representation in the various EOCs. The second part of external relations is we have responsibility for working with our partners, non-governmental agencies, faith-based organizations, Chamber of Commerce, anything that wants to help work with the victims and bring something to the table. Third thing is external relations is part of the public relations function, where we get the news out to the community of what's going on and where the shelters are located. And the fourth one is fundraising. And each one of those is a specialization unto itself. So people coming into here need to know all about it, because if it's a small disaster, you got to cover all those things, but if it's a large disaster, you're only going to do what your particular specialization is. The external relations part, which is my expertise, requires that you are knowledgeable about what Red Cross does or does not do during a disaster. Because if you're in an EOC, they might ask you is, we need 2 more shelters. And my question to them is, where do you have them located? Because we don't own them. We operate them, we don't own them. So working with them, they might say, well, we need them over on the west side of town, so I'll call back to headquarters to get a hold of the sheltering people and say, logistics, we need a shelter in the northeast area, blah, blah, blah. And then they go about them, and I put the people in contact that way.
Whenever you're ready.
Alright, so what is client casework? So basically after a DAT call, the client gets assigned a client caseworker, and the caseworker is going to just make sure that they checked into the hotel okay, that they can use their client assistant card. They try to find housing for them and just help them on the road to recovery. Make sure that they know about all the organizations that are providing assistance to them, and just making sure that they are able to recover after their disaster, basically.
My name is Roxanne Shorbach. I'm PIO for the Rose Parades teams, and I also help with community first aid and recruiting people. And what we have here is some pictures of what we do during the year. We handle community first aid stations around the surrounding cities. We do events such as the Industry Hills Rodeo, Senior Olympics, dog shows, 4th of July shows, the Philharmonic at Santa Anita, and we have teams that go in. They range from first aid CPR certified to EMTs, EMRs, physicians and nurses. And at the Rose Parade, we work directly under the first aid teams, we work directly under the Pasadena Fire Department.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Great.
Hi, this is Health Services, and we're talking about what Health Services does in disaster services. For instance, but that's not only you're limited to, you're also going to be available to do first aid stations, do immunizations, do home visits, visit people in the hospital as well. So there are a lot of things that you can do as a health services person, whether you're an RN or an EMT or a first aider, you can do it all with Health Services.
Perfect.
Hi, I'm Francisca. Situational awareness is a pretty important function for the Red Cross. When disaster strikes, one of the most important commodities that we need as responders is to be able to get the right information to our responders to get to our clients in need. And so that involves everything from road closures, the direction a fire might be going, weather forecasts, and a number of other items as well. We monitor social media, we monitor traditional media, we work with government partners, all in order to get the most accurate, up-to-date pieces of information to our decision makers. So if you'd like to be to participate in something like this, let us know. You can contact Harold Babb and he'll get you connected with us.
I am one of the disaster preparedness instructors. It's one of the many things I do with the Red Cross. We all know that the more prepared you are for a disaster, the better you can recover from it. But many people do not recover from a disaster. So what we want to do is ask people to join us, be the one to empower people against disaster. We want to tell them about the hazards and the risks associated with them. Most importantly, we want them to know how to recover from them and prepare for them. We teach from a booklet that we send home, and we have slideshows and really great instructors who try to make it fun and scary enough that people will really go home and start taking care of things. We have programs for children, the puppet shows, the backpack program, and the pillowcase program, where we actually give them pillowcases that have been donated by Disney. Look at the pillowcase. And Disney, the kids have markers and they mark their preparedness stuff on it. The pillowcase is actually for the emergency supplies for kids to carry out. So that's what this program is. We're especially looking for, I'm especially looking for people who want to teach the kids. We're also addressing vulnerable populations, and seniors fall into that category. So one of the things we're trying to do is get to senior centers and have them start to be prepared, because many of them are on their own and are really going to have to face this on their own. Anybody who's interested in public speaking, either to younger people or to older people, please sign up here and join the club. It's a lot of fun.
This is community outreach. Community outreach is pretty much, we're at events in the community, health fairs, infos, expos, church events, pretty much anywhere where we want to be with an information booth like this, focusing on the preparedness message. We want to make sure people are prepared in case of a disaster, but we also have information on the 5 lines of service. It's a really fun, interactive way to engage the public. Community outreach is for somebody that likes to talk, because you will be talking a lot. So it's really fun. If you like to talk, come see us and then find ways to get involved with community outreach. Thank you.
Volunteers who weren't able to make it, this is a service to the armed forces. We support our military, active military personnel, as well as our veterans. We give them all kinds of information that can help them financially, that can help them if they're deployed and they need to get home because there's a family emergency. They can call us, SAF, which is Service to the Armed Forces. We can help them get home. We help our veterans and our homeless veterans by giving them all kinds of resources that will help them with housing and also financially. We also have what we call a Veterans History Project, and that's information that we want to get from our veterans that have been in the service, whether it's in the war area or not, and they tell their story. We give them a video of their story, and the other DVD goes to the Library of Congress where it stays there forever, which is very good. So that's just part of the things that SAF do, and if you're interested in volunteering, we'd love to have you contact SAF.
Hi, we're the Youth Services, and right here we have a flyer for anybody who's a prospective youth advisor or who know anyone who would like to be a youth advisor. And then right here we have a different sheet for any youth that you would know that would like to join the American Red Cross. And right here is everything that they can do in the Red Cross, and below is the contact information that they can contact our youth advisor for more information. And right here we have a clipboard that's for people to sign up if they have any interest to be a youth advisor.
Great.
And then on that side we have Jasmine to explain. Yeah. Okay. So over here we're selling pins for Measles and Rubella Initiative. If you donate $1, then we'll give you a pin, and $1 goes to a vaccination.
Well, there are several different programs underneath the umbrella of international services. I'm concentrating on one of them, which is Restoring Family Links. In order to qualify or submit a tracing request, you have to be separated either by war or by a disaster. So that's our criteria. We usually have a phone call that initiates the intake preparation or for intake form, and then from there we get as much information about the person themselves requesting as well as the person that they're seeking and trying to find. If that person is able to be found, we then need authorization from that person in order to allow us to give the requester information to restore that link and connect them back together again. But it's a very rewarding experience being that type of a caseworker.
I'm a disaster mental health worker, and I'm here to tell people about what mental health is in the Red Cross and what we do. And I start out by pointing out that people who have the psychological first aid really are the backbone of mental health services, because they use those skills, and then when their skills aren't all that are required, they refer people to us and we help them. To be a disaster mental health worker, you need to have specialty training and credentials. So that's what we do.
In addition, we have a canteen service, so if police departments or fire departments have exactly like
But they may also